Ayo, it's a nerd, it's a plane, it's Mr. Clintastik, and I am here with a review, a limited review of the Strixhaven cards. It's that time again, that time of year. So let's turn that down. Not sure if people like having a little music, but actually, I need to see how loud that is, anyways. Hope everyone has been doing well. I'm finally getting my setup back together so you can see this lovely mug. Okay, if I find that that's just too loud, someone please just let me know. But so far, it seems to be okay, music wise. But yeah, yeah, that seems fine. That seems fine. Once again, my name is Mr. Clintastik, and we are here to go over the Strixhaven cards. The full set has been released. Set comes out officially April 23rd of this month. So be looking out for your pre-release events the weekend prior. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with let's see here. I'm gonna start off with white, and we're gonna move through the colors. I think white looks pretty powerful. And like I said, this is a limited set review. If I feel something may impact standard, I may bring it up. But for the most part, I am a limited player. I love limited, and that's what I'm gonna discuss because that's where a lot of these cards gonna see their shine. Not every card is gonna be standard staples. I feel limited gives a lot of cards opportunity to be played, whereas they wouldn't otherwise see play. So let's start off. First, we have academic probation. Two drop, gold rare. It's a lesson. Lesson is one of a part of the new mechanic of learn. I believe learn is an ability where if the card is able to learn, you can go and pull one of these lessons out of the sideboard and put it in your hand, or you can draw a card, discard a card, if I'm not mistaken. So here we have academic probation, two drop, gold rare, lesson, sorcery. Choose one. Choose a non-land card name. Opponents can't cast spells with the chosen name until your next turn. Choose target non-land permanent until your next turn. It can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Interesting for sure. I feel like this is a way to dismiss a blocker when you're trying to close out a game. I wouldn't really want to use this defensively myself. I would definitely want to try to close out a game with this. I wouldn't see myself first picking it either, but I would have to see all the rest of the cards in the set to really get an idea of how powerful this could be. You'd much rather see this on like an enchantment, right? Right now, I don't know. I'm not giving it a high grade here. I don't even know how much grade cards. I guess one out of five. One being the worst, five being the best. Yeah. Hmm. I probably right now would just give academic probation like a really a two. It's just not that good to me. But I could be wrong. Like that's why I said these are first impressions. Just kind of like my first ideas on the card. Nothing set in stone. Next we have Ageless Guardian, 2-drop, 1/4 Spirit Soldier. I think Spirit is a relevant creature type in this format. I'd probably rate this a 2 as well. It's okay, but it's not something I care about. And I think like for a card to be like a 5 to me, for instance, it would have to be like first pickable, something that I want like every time I see it. Next, we have Beaming Defiance, 2-drop instant. Target creature you control gets 2/2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. I like this card. The hexproof is very relevant, especially on top of the 2/2. This can help close out games. I find it to be a little bit better than the last couple of cards we've seen so far. I would definitely put it in like a 3 range. Yeah, it's definitely better than the last couple of cards we've seen. 2/2 and hexproof. I think that's going to be very relevant, especially with the mechanic Magecraft being in this format. Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy a spell, you get like 1/0 on the target creature that has that ability. So I think Beam and Defiance is going to see a lot of play in limited. Next, we have Clever Lumimancer, a 1-drop 0/1 human wizard with the Magecraft ability that I was just mentioning there. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, Clever Lumimancer gets 2/2 until end of turn. Now, I love this card personally. It's uncommon, so you're not gonna get it every time. But if you can pick up a couple of these, what are the chances of you finding 3? I don't know. But if you can load up on these, you get an early creature, and you just start spinning your spells. I really have to see the quality of all the spells in the format for me to gauge this efficiently. But I like my low drops, and I think this has the potential. Like for instance, with the card we just saw, they gave 2/2 and hexproof. So you play this on turn 1. Say they're open, you give this 2/2 with the Magecraft ability plus 2/2 with the spells ability. I mean, I'm only swinging it for 4, but you're swinging it for 4 on turn 2. I don't know. I like it. I'm giving it a 3. And depending on the spell quality, that might go up. Here we have Combat Professor, a 4-drop, 3 generic and a white bird cleric with flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains vigilant until end of turn. It's a 2/3. Okay. I think it's playable. Kinda wish it was a 3-drop, right? But it does give an ability every turn, and you can move that ability. And it's not just 1/0, it also gives the creature vigilance, which could be very relevant when you're racing. Vigilance is a very powerful ability. I'm gonna give this a 3 as well. I'm not seeing this as something I want to just first pick off top. It's okay. Great ability, but once again, it's something I'm just gonna have to see more of the set. And I'm pretty sure as the set goes on, I'll probably rate the cards a little bit better than I'm rating them now. So that's once again why these are first impressions. So next we have Defend the Campus, a 4-drop, 3 generic and a white instant. Choose 1. Creatures you control get 1/1 until end of turn. I think that's going to be very powerful with Magecraft. Also, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. This card is great. I like it. Um, there's a chance there's not a lot of 4 drops in the set, but just knowing that we have the Elder Dragons off top, this can destroy the Elder Dragons. Well, no, there's one that's a 2/5, I believe. It can't destroy that one, but for the most part, it's destroying a lot of the dragons. Also, it works well with Magecraft. You can pump your squad, trigger Magecraft for further damage. I'm gonna give this a 3.5 just because I gotta see how many relevant 4 drops there's gonna be and how many like cards in white are gonna be triggering this Magecraft ability to make them even more potent. But I think this could be really good if you know what you're doing. Next we have Detention Vortex. 1-drop enchantment aura, uncommon. Enchant non-land permanent. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Sweet. First part is sweet. But then the person can pay 3 and destroy Detention Vortex. Only your opponents may activate this ability and only as a sorcery. So this reminds me of the card that we saw the lesson earlier. The 2-drop. This is potentially only stopping something for a turn. Way to close out a game. I'm not going to write this off as completely horrible. You know, he's like, okay, for one, I'm going to take out your beefiest creature, and then I'm going to swing in. So I think this could go in an aggressive build. Giving them the chance to just blow it up kind of stinks, but they can only do it as a sorcery. I know y'all going to say I'm probably rating a lot of cards as 3s. I just don't know. I feel like this is better than a 2, though. I'm going to give it a 2.5. Like, this could help you finish the game. It's not... Also, it's not triggering Magecraft either. This might be worse than I think. Because say, what if you get 2 of these, right? Just gonna hold them up until you can finish the game off. I'm gonna hold to my guns. I'm gonna say it's a 2.5. I do like it better than the first 2 cards. I mean, the other one was a lesson that triggered Magecraft, though. Maybe this is a 2. I'm gonna make this a 2. It could be a 1.5. The other, like, you got to think about some cards in the context of the entire set, and the other card being a sorcery is going to be really relevant for Magecraft. Next, we have Devastating Mastery. It is a 6-drop, 2 generic for white sorcery. You may pay 2 generic and 2 white rather than pay this spell's mana cost. If 4 mana was paid, an opponent chooses up to 2 non-land permanents they control and return it to their owner's hands. Destroy all non-land permanents. I mean, it's a board wipe. In limited, this is going to be a bomb. I'm going to give it a 4 right off top. How often you're going to want to pay 4 for this ability? Give them the chance to bounce a couple things. That's more of a tempo play, and I can see it being done. This could be, in my opinion, a 4 or 4.5, but right now I'm just going to give it a 4 because it is a high mana cost otherwise. Typically, your board wipes is going to be like a, what, 5 mana? This is, well, your creature board wipes are going to be 5 mana. This is a non-land permanent one, so this might real deal just be a 4.5 right here, or 5. This is nice. I'm going to give it a 4 right now. But that could go up. And even the 4 ability, like I said, that's a tempo play. Even if they bounce 2 things back to their hand, unless they have good ETBs, it's not gonna matter that much. They still gotta play it back, especially if they're expensive things. That can be really relevant. Next we have Dueling Coach. 4 drop, 3 generic, and a white. There's a lot of 4 drops in white. This is a creature, human monk, uncommon. It's a 2/2. When Dueling Coach ETBs, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. For 4, you can pay 5, 4 generic and a white, tap it, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. I don't really, I don't really like it. I don't really like it. Um, I know it's in white, but 4 drop 2/2. Throw flying on this, and I'm way higher on it. But just on the ground, I'm giving this a 2 right now. This really just, it's playable. Like so far, I think everything has been playable. I haven't seen something unplayable. And I think that's what's going to really be in the 1 stage. But this isn't something I would care about too much unless there's a whole 1/1 counter archetype that I just haven't noticed yet, in which that would pull this up to at least a 3. But I don't think it's never going beyond that. Next we have Eager First Year. 2 drop, 1 generic, 1 white human wizard with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Eager First Year gets 1/0 until end of turn. So I'm not going to be saying that over and over again. I'll just trip over the whole paragraph. But this is a 2/2. After seeing the other card, the 0/1 with Magecraft, I think this is great. I think both of those cards are great. I'm seeing, and this is common, which I think makes it a little bit better than the 0/1 and uncommon, because you might see more of these, can build around them a little bit better. Although the other one does give 2/2. So Magecraft is going to give different abilities or different values. But I think Eager First Year is great, especially if that's the archetype you're going into in white. I'm going to give it a 3. It could probably go up to 3.5 actually. I really, for an aggro deck, this is going to be great. Next we have Elite Spellbinder. 2 generic, 1 white human cleric with flying. It's 3/1. When it ETBs, look at target opponent's hand. You may exile a non-land card from it. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it. A spell cast this way costs 2 more to cast. Okay, this was a card designed by Paulo Vitor Dama da Rosa. Now, there's some people that's just born and given like names. That's one of those names you say, you're just like, that was delicious. Paulo Vitor Dama da Rosa. But yeah, I believe he won. He won the world championship and got to design his own card. And this is the card he designed. 3/1 flyer, exiles a spell, and the opponent can play the spell back, but it costs 2 more to cast. So it's not even reliant on this card being on the battlefield anymore. They're gonna have the chance to bring it back. Once again, just another tempo play. I think this card is really good. It's a 3/1 flyer that gets rid of something for a turn. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I don't think it's. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I think it's good, but they do get to get the thing back. I do like the creatures that you play it, it takes something away until you play it back. Or even the Skyclave Apparition ability I really like, because it doesn't even give the thing back. It gives them an alternative thing that isn't as powerful. So while this card is decent, it takes something off the battlefield. I don't think it's just like game breaking. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I probably should be keeping these notes. I'll just go back through the video. Next we have Expel, a 3-drop instant speed spell, exile target tap creature. Hope that wasn't too loud. I'm gonna give this a 3.5. I like this card a lot. Unless Vigilance is a big threat, this is gonna take out anything you want by turn 3. Anything, just swinging in like, oh, I'm getting all this value. Boom, out of here, and it's exile. I don't think people understand how potent exile is. Well, maybe they do. Experienced players understand how potent exile is. They don't have a chance to get that card back unless you're dealing with some kind of like Kaya ability. But I'm giving this a 3.5. I think this is great. I think anytime you see this, you're really going to want to pick it up. Unless Vigilance is a big problem, I think this is just going to be easy snaps. Could be a 4. I really like it. Instant speed too. Could go up. Anyways, next we have Guiding Voice. 1-drop in white sorcery. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Also has Learn. You may reveal a lesson card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand, or discard a card to draw a card. So I said it in reverse earlier. It's not draw discard, it's discard draw, which I personally don't like as much. I mean, you could throw away a land first, but I like to be able to draw, evaluate my hand, then discard my card. That's just me. I think this card's okay. Still kind of, I feel like it's playable, but it's still kind of in the 2 range for me. It puts a counter on a creature and allows you to loot or rummage or get one of your cards out the side. This could be better than I think. This could be better than I think. This might be a 3. You know, you play some like a 1-drop, a 2-drop, you put a counter on it, you learn, you go get a card out your sideboard, and say those cards are triggering Magecraft. I think for white, like maybe even mono white and limited, it has some potential. This is also just uncommon. I'm gonna give it a 3. That really could go up or down. It's kind of average to me. Surprisingly, because it's just put in a 1/1 counter or something, but that learn ability attached to it, I think is pretty potent. Next we have Leonin Light Scribe, a 2-drop, 1 generic, 1 white cat cleric with Magecraft, 2/2. It gets 1/1 for its Magecraft ability. And wait, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get 1/1 until end of turn. Creatures, okay. I'm definitely giving this like a 3.5, and this could go up to a 4. I think this is very powerful here, especially for your white deck. It gives all of your creatures 1/1, and say your other creatures have Magecraft as well. White's looking really strong. I haven't seen too much of the other colors yet, but low drop white's looking really strong. I'm giving this a 3.5, and depending on how the format plays out, I think this could go up to a 4, even a 4.5. I think this is first pickable, really. I mean, it's rare, of course, but there's a lot of times you'll see rares and they don't be first pickable. But I definitely feel like this is first pickable, so I'm gonna actually just give this a... Screw it. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I really like this card. Especially with all the Magecraft we've seen so far. This is really powerful. And it's only 2 mana. And 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 that ability triggers anytime you cast instance or sorcery, so it could double up. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Lean and Light Scribe. I'm pretty sure that's gonna go in the mono white build in standard. Like, I think this is gonna see some play in other places. All right. Next we have Mavinda, Student's Advocate. 3-drop, 2 generic and a white. Legendary creature, bird advisor. It's mythic. Flying. Pay 0. You may cast instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell doesn't target a creature you control, it costs 8 more to cast this way. If that spell would be put into the graveyard, exile it instead. Activate only once each turn. You still pay the spell's mana cost. Timing rules for the spell still apply. Okay. It's a 2/3. Sorry it took me a minute to read that. That was like a chapter on a card. 3-drop, 2/3 flyer that allows you to play your instants in sorceries from the yard. And we've already seen cards like the one we talked about earlier, the 1-drop that lets you learn. You pay 0. Then you pay 1 to play it again from the yard. Go learn again. That's okay. I'm feeling it. I'm giving it 4.5. I think this is right there with that last card we saw. It's something that when you see it, you want to first pick. And I think you can do a lot of damage if you play it right. Next we have Pilgrim of the Ages, a 3-drop, 2 generic and a white. Spirit. When Pilgrim of the Ages enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic plains, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Pay 6, return Pilgrim of the Ages from your graveyard to your hand. I like it. Sorry for the delayed effect. I thought an emergency was happening. But yeah. 2/1 goes and gets the plains. And then you can get it from the graveyard, bring it back to your hand. So I think this would be better for you. There's some if there's some sacrifice effects, I think that'd make it way better. So you can play this, get a plains, sacrifices for value. Later in the game, you get it back, get a 2/1, get another plains. Not saying that's going to be the greatest value, but I think it'd be interesting. I'm going to give it a 3. It's average. Next we have Pillar Drop Rescuer, a 5-drop, 4 generic and a white. Spirit Cleric. Flying, when it ETBs, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 2/2. I like it. I think it's average. 5-drop, 2/2 flyer, but it does give you something back from the yard. It could even give you the card we just discussed. I think it was a Pilgrim or something. It's gonna take me a while to get used to these card names, but yeah, I think this card is great. I'm gonna give it a 3 for now. I don't think it's something that's first pickable, especially being a 2/2. Like if this was even a 3/3, I think it'd be a little bit better. But yeah, we're going to give it a 3 for now. It's okay. Next we have Professor of Symbology. 2-drop, 1 generic, 1 white, core cleric. When Professor of Symbology ETBs, you learn. It's a 2/1. And it's uncommon. I mean, I guess it's a 3. It's average. It's a 2-1 for 2. It gives you a little bit of value, but it doesn't have first strike. It doesn't have magecraft. I'm not really a fan of this card. I'm, and I could be wrong. The learn ability attached to it could be super potent, but it's not something I'm ever gonna actively go after unless unless it just comes up for me for free. I'm gonna give it a 2.5. I think this is slightly below average for what we've been seeing. Next we have reduced memory, 3 cost, 1 generic, 2 white, lesson, sorcery. I wonder are all the lessons sorceries. Should have looked that up. But you exile a non-land permanent. Its controller creates a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. It's uncommon. What was that card in Kaldheim? 2-drop white. You exiled a permanent, but they got to play a permanent for free. This is giving me that kind of vibes. It's 3 mana, and you get to exile whatever, right? Cool. But you give them a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. This also reminds me of what Raven form. You leave them with a 1/1 white flyer. I'm gonna give this a 2. I could be wrong. I keep saying that, but I don't like this. This is not something I'll want to play. Reduced memory. I'm gonna give it a 2. It's just right above playable. Cause why would I want to give him a 3/2 anyways? All right. Next we have Secret Rendezvous. A 3-drop, 1 generic, 2 white, sorcery. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. One. One. My goodness, it took a minute for that to process. No, you and target opponent each draw 3 cards? Who, what, when, and where, and why? No, I'm not doing that. Me? Pay 3 to give us 3 cards? No, nah. Nope. 1. Don't play that. In limited, even if you want the card value, don't play that. It's not gonna work out for you because you're paying 3 to get 3 cards. Your opponent paid nothing. Dud. Next we have Semester's End, a 4-drop, 3 generic, and a white instant. Exile any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of your next end step, return each of them to the battlefield under its owner's control. Each of them enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it if it's a creature and an additional loyalty counter on it if it's a planeswalker. Yay! Yorion on the instant. Wait, more powerful Yorion on the instant. It doesn't bounce enchantments or artifacts, but it can reset your walkers. It's going to be great with creatures with ETBs. And it's going to put a 1/1 counter on everything. This is probably going to slide into some Yorion decks already. Now, in limited, you're going to want to have some good creatures with ETBs on. I mean, it could be a pump spit. It could be a way to, like block off some significant damage, like with some chumps, right? Like your opponent is like a beefy greens deck, and they're swinging in, and you're like, oh man, I'm about to die or about to lose my board. You block, Semester's End, exile all your creatures. You got to block, and they all come back with a 1/1 counter. And unless your opponent had vigilance, they're open for attack. Small window, but I feel like there's a lot of scenarios where this might be okay. I think this is slightly above average. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. For limited, could be a 4. I just got to see how the 1, 2, 3 curve out is looking across colors, because you could splash this. It's only 1 white mana. Yeah, because Magecraft doesn't have anything to do with ETBs, so we'll really have to see what creatures have ETBs and will semesters in go from being like a 3.5 to something higher. Next we have Show of Confidence. Two drop, 1 generic, 1 white instant. When you cast this spell, copy it for each other instant and sorcery spell you've cast this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains vigilance until end of turn. I'm gonna get with you in 1 second, Kiwi. I like this card a lot. Isn't this like a pseudo storm effect? You cast the spell and then you cast this and then you got 2 of these. I think this card is pretty powerful. I think this is at least a 3.5. Really, especially what we've been seeing with the Magecraft abilities. You play a 1-drop, you play this, you're pumping all your creatures, and then you're multiplying this. Say you play this, no, say you play a 1-drop, a 2-drop, then play this. You multiply it 3 times, and this is putting counters on creatures. I think this is definitely playable. Definite 3.5 to 4. I like Show of Confidence. Hey Kiwi, how you doing? So when Kaldheim came out, I was going through a lot. So I know I didn't get to do a Kaldheim limited review. I don't think. No, that's why I'm trying to be on top of it from now on, doing the Strixhaven review. I think the Show of Confidence mechanic, like the card like this, I think it could be really powerful because if you're running, let's see, you're running what, 14 to 17 creatures. You're running, I mean, you could be right. You're only running 6 to 8 instants, but with the learn mechanic, you have the potential to get instants and sorceries out of your sideboard too, taking your instant and sorcery count up. I think it's going to be a little bit better than we think, but you know, I like running the aggro decks anyways. And so aggro decks that allow you to get card advantage, because white doesn't usually get a lot of card advantage, but learn, you can discard a card and draw a card. That's not necessarily advantage, but it's filtering. And if you learn, like I said, you can go get a sorcery out your sideboard and trigger Magecraft again. I think it's going to be pretty good. Not all of them. We saw, well, no, not really. Let's back out. What learn card have we seen so far? Like Guiding Voice. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, learn. Like, that's pretty ridiculous. Oh yeah. Anything colorless, learn. I've heard that too. But yeah, I think Show of Confidence would be good. Okay. Next we have Sparring Regimen. A 3-drop, 2 generic and a white enchantment. When Sparring Regimen enters the battlefield, you learn. Whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature and untap it. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. This looks really good. This is automatically, in my opinion, a 4.5 or a 5. I think in any aggressive build, you're going to want this. A 1/1 counter is so much better then 1/1 until end of turn. It makes it a permanent threat. This also has the learn ability on it, which you can either go to your sideboard and get something, or you can discard a card, draw a card. Oh my gosh. I think this is a 4.5 or 5, like easily first pickable. You put you have some evasive threat sets swinging in. Oh my gosh. And you untap it, which makes it pseudo vigilant. It's not vigilant, but it makes it pseudo vigilant, which I think is very relevant. Especially from some of the cards we've seen, like 3-drop to exile target tap creature. So yeah, I really like Sparring Regimen. Alright, next we have Star Pupil, 1-drop Human Wizard. Star Pupil enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. It's a 0/0 though. When it dies, put its counters on target creature you control. So that's worded in a way, if this gets more counters on it, 2, 3 counters, 4 counters. When it dies, you move those counters somewhere else. There's a artifact that is similar to this. They got some play. So I think that could be. I think this is playable. I think this is average, like a 3. But the fact that it's a 1-drop, I mean, it's just really a 1-drop 1/1. Maybe it's a 2.5. It's not really that great. It's not giving you a ton of value over time, and you'd have to support this to make it better, like put more counters on it and hope for it to die. I'm gonna give it a 2.5. That is something. I'm not. White isn't getting its normal removal. It got a good piece of removal in. It has a gold rare board wipe, devastating mastery. It has expel, and we're not done with all the cards just yet. Next we have Stonebinder's Familiar, another 1-drop in white, Spirit Dog, uncommon. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile during your turn, put a 1/1 counter on Stonebinder's Familiar. This ability triggers only once each turn. That's not that good to me. I mean, this goes with Foretell, but Foretell's not in this set. I'm gonna give this a 2.5. I think it's, or no, I'm gonna just give it a 2. It's really just a 1/1 for 1. It's playable, but it's borderline not even worth it. It could really go down to unplayable, even though it's uncommon. Unless being a spirit is relevant. Next we have Stonerise Spirit, 2-drop, 1 generic and a white, Spirit Bird, flying. Pay 4, exile a card from your graveyard. Target creature gains flying until end of turn. It's a 1/2. I think this is a 3. It's a 1/2 for 2 flyer. So if you want to be evasive with your aggro deck, this is what you're going to want. It's not the best stats, but we didn't see a 1/1 flyer in this set either. Not so far. So this might be what you're wanting for your evasive flying threat in white. Flying threats in white might actually go up in value just for being flyers. Not really seeing a lot of those. Strict Proctor, a 2-drop, 1 generic, 1 white flyer. Whenever a permanent ETBs causing a triggered ability to trigger, counter that ability unless its controller pays 2. It's a 1/3. Okay, what was the other card that did that? It's still in standard, I think. Man, I can't think of it. Yeah, I can't think of it, but it restricted ETBs. This doesn't completely restrict them. It allows the ETB to occur if they pay 2. I think this is great simply for the fact that it's a 2-drop flyer, a 1/3, slightly better than the flyer we just discussed. And it might stop some of your opponent's abilities. They can still do it. I'm going to give this a. I don't really want to give it a 3.5 because it's not like amazing, but it might get a. It might have to get a 3.5. Being in white, having its stats, especially if red is not doing 3 damage. But I'm gonna give this a 3 for now. Honestly, I really feel like it's on par with that bird we just said, even though it just has 1 extra toughness. Next we have Steady Break. 2-drop, 1 generic, and a white. Tap up to 2 target creatures, and you get to learn. I think this is great. Once again, tempo play. That's what we're seeing out of white. We're not seeing a lot of like permanent removal. We're seeing, all right, we're gonna take this away for a turn. Just timeout cards. And I think that's okay, especially a card like this. Tap up to 2 target creatures to do it before they attack in. Give you a good attack for your creatures. This can trigger Magecraft at instant speed, and it triggers Learn at instant speed. So I think this card is really, really good. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think this is great. It'll go down in value in multiples. I think the most you'd want is like 2. Maybe 3, but yeah, I think first impression, I think this card is a great card. And last in mono white, we have Thunderous Orator, a 2-drop, 1 generic, 1 white core wizard with vigilance. Whenever it attacks, it gains flying until end turn. If you control a creature with flying, the same is true for first strike, double strike, death touch, indestructible, lifelink, menace, and trample. It's a 2/2. This is getting a 4. And this is just uncommon. This is crazy. This card is magnificent. It already has vigilance. And if you have any abilities on any of your other creatures, it just nabs them up. Yes. This is to me like in instant 4, maybe 4.5. Like, yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.5. I think this is first pickable. You play this, you can give it any of these abilities. Oh, man. Oh, man. That's going to be nasty. Thunderous Orator is nasty. All right. So that's it for the mono white cards. Overall, I think mono white got some gasoline. Cards you're going to want to look out for, because you're going to want some removal, right? You got Defend the Campus. Destroy a target creature with power 4 or greater. I think this is going to be pretty relevant. You'll want a couple of those, especially since it has the modality to it. You can either give all your creatures 1/1, triggers Magecraft, or destroy a creature. I think that's really powerful. You got Devastating Mastery. This, after seeing what white has, this is definitely a 5. You're going to want to pick this up if you see it. It's just a way to destroy everything for 6 mana. Yeah, definitely a 5. Expel. It's up there. I'm going to give it. I really forgot what I gave it original. But I feel like it's at least a 4. Exile target tap creature. And it could go up. I'll probably run a lot of these because it's not dependent on power or toughness. It's not dependent on anything but being tapped. And there might be ways to tap creatures in other colors. We'll have to be on lookout for that. But I think Expel's pretty potent. Elite Spellbinder, it's there for removal. So white has some removal, but I feel like for the most part it focused on a lot of aggression, kind of beating face, and taking names, which is kind of cool. I think you'll want to value all of your removal and flyers first, and then your tricks. But yeah, so let's move on to the next color. We'll do blue. Starting off, we have Arcane Subtraction. 2 drop, 1 generic, 1 blue. Instant, target creature gets neg 4, neg 0 until end of turn, and you learn. Doesn't pop off the page to me. Neg 4, neg 0 is not killing anything. It can trigger Magecraft and you can learn, but I think this card is just above playable. I'm going to give it a 2. I'm not going to linger on it too long. I'm just not a big fan of it. Next we have Archmage Emeritus. 4 mana. 2 generic, 2 blue. Human Wizard, gold rare. With Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, draw a card. It's a 2/2. Bomb. Bomb. I really like this card. I'm going to give it a 4. It's only a 2/2, but you play it, and say you play it and you have an extra mana up, you have a 1 mana instant or sorcery or something, you just draw a card off that. You know, I think that's really potent. Late game, early game, or mid game. I'm going to give this a 4 because it needs other things to work. But I think overall, your deck with Magecraft should have the tools it needs for it to work. I think this is just a great card. Probably needs to be a 4.5, but we're going to stick with the 4 for now. Next we have Burrog Befuddler, a 2 drop, 1 generic, 1 blue, frog wizard with flash. When it ETBs, target creature an opponent controls gets neg 1, neg 0 until end of turn. It's a 2/1. So I'm just going to say it. I'm not a fan of the neg power cards. It's only a 2 mana card, which is fine. It has flash, which is relevant. So I'm going to give it a 3. Simply for being a 2 mana, 2/1 flash in blue. It's average. You know, it's not magnificent. The neg 1, neg 0 is relevant, but I don't think it pushes it into anything over a 3. Might help you every now and then. So yeah, we're going to give Burrog Befuddler a 3. Keep on rolling. Next we have Bury in Books. A 5 drop, 4 generic, and a blue instant. Spell costs 2 less to cast if it's this spell costs 2 less to cast if it's target an attacking creature. Talking, right? Put target creature into its owner's library second from the top. So essentially this is going to be a 3 drop instant spell that puts a creature second from the top. It doesn't rely on the creature being tapped, which is important, so vigilant creatures can still be targeted. It's a tempo play. It's not killing the creature. I know some players that'll think this is like a instant slam dunk. They'll really like it, but I like destroying creatures more than I like tucking creatures. I'm leaning towards 3. I think this is average. You can play it. I don't think it's first pickable though. It might save you every now and then, but you're only going to get value out of it one time. It's not recursive. So I'm just going to give it a 3. Next we have Curate. 2 mana, 1 generic, 1 blue. Instant. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest back on top of your library in any order. Draw a card. Okay. I really don't know how to evaluate this card. It's giving you a little bit of card value for 2 mana. Look at top 2 cards in your library. You put both of them back, or throw one in the yard and draw a card. I think it's average. I don't think it's like bad. I wouldn't want a bunch of these though. It triggers Magecraft. That's for sure. And I think that's gonna be super relevant. It triggers Magecraft at instant speed. I'm gonna give it a 3. And I guess that's where a lot of cards are gonna be. Just average. Next we have Divide by Zero. 3 drop, 2 generic and a blue. Instant. Turn target spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand, and it has learned. Okay, bounce ability attached to a learn ability. Average. That's definitely average. It's not. It, how can I put this? They put that restriction on there to stop you from bouncing tokens. And one of the best things about bounce spells is being able to bounce tokens and destroy them. If I'm not able to bounce your token and destroy it with my bounce spell, it loses a little bit of value for me. So if this was just bounce a creature or permanent with no restriction and learn for 3, it'll instantly be like a 3.5 or maybe even a 4 because you're getting card value off of the card. But with it having that restriction on it, it leaves it at a 3 for me. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Still a good card though. Next we have Dream Strix. 3 mana, 2 generic and a blue. Bird Illusion. It's rare. Flying, when it becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it. Boo. Boo. When it dies, learn. I'm going to give it a 3. It being rare makes me just want to, off principle alone, want to make me to say 2.5 or 2. The fact that when it becomes the target of a spell, it just dies, like a white deck running a put a 1/1 counter on something learn can play this, kill my creature. Yeah, you get to learn at the end of it, but really, you really need some like from the graveyard recursiveness or whatnot. I'm not a fan of this card. I think you can play it. It's average. A 3 drop 3/2 that you can't even pump it. I'm giving this card a 2. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I might even give it a 1. I'm gonna have to see. Right now, out of respect for just being a 3/2 flyer, I'm gonna give it a 2. It's playable, but its ability is not good. Next, we have Frost Trickster. 3 mana, 2 generic and a blue. Bird Wizard. Flying. When it ETBs, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. It's a 2/2. And it's common. What? So we just saw a gold rare in Dream Strix. That's a 3/2. Doesn't interact with your opponent at all. Has to wait to die to give you value. In any spell, you can't even pump it. Yeah. 1. Giving Dream Strix a 1. When you have a common spell, you lose a point of power. You tap a creature down. It doesn't untap until the next turn. It doesn't untap the next turn. And it's still a flyer. And it's common, so you're going to see this way more often. I'm giving this a 4. This is really playable. This is doing what that Frost Giant does in Kaldheim for 5, but it's doing it for 3 on a 2/2 flying body. Yes. Not gonna say it's first pickable, but it's close. It's up there. Next we have Ingenious Mastery. I've read this card before. I'm pretty sure it's gonna get a 1. This is a, I don't even know how to explain this mana cost. A 3 mana X, 1 blue, 2 generic X mana spell, sorcery. You may pay 3, 2 generic and a blue, rather than pay this spell's mana cost. If the 3 mana was paid instead, you draw 3 cards, then opponent creates 2 treasure tokens and scries 2. If the cost wasn't paid, you draw X cards. Who's going through all them hoops to play this anywhere? Any format. You pay 3, your opponent gets to make 2 treasures. You ramping your opponent. Where? Why? Who? Not me. I'm not ramping my opponent to draw 3 cards. And then, even if you pay it for its X cost, you got to pay 4 mana to draw 1 card, 5 mana to draw 2, 6 mana to draw 3. I'll give it a 2. And that's contingent on what other blue spells will let you draw in this format. Because if there's other really good common blue spells to draw, and learn is basically draw. This card in limited, I think this is probably a 1. You might not want to play that at all, especially for it being a rare. That's crazy. See, things like that's gonna really tilt the draft format, because people are gonna pop open these packs and see these rares, and they'll think, oh, they're probably gonna leave it in the pack, and it's gonna send mixed signals. People are gonna be like, oh, blue must be open because this is still in the pack. It's like, no, that card was just bad. Next we have Kelpie Guide. 3-drop creature beast. You can tap it, untap another target permanent you control. You can tap it, tap target permanent, activate only if you control 8 or more lands. Jeez. It's a 2/2. It's a playable card. It's a 3. The fact that you have to have 8 or more lands to activate the tap permanent kind of stinks. But maybe you compare this with something else that taps down for value. Get to trigger it twice. Also, you can swing in with a creature, a biggie creature, and then tap this and untap the biggie creature when they swing in. Kind of keep it back on defense. I think this is a 3, maybe a 3.5. It's not bad. It's a little above average, actually. I'm going to give it a 3.5. Next, we have Mentor's Guidance. 3 mana, 2 generic and a blue. When you cast this spell, copy it if you control a planeswalker. Cleric, Druid, Shaman, Warlock, or Wizard. Scry 1, then draw a card. So for 3 mana you got scry 1, draw a card. That's good. That's average. If you have one of the requisite permanents on the board, you scry 2, draw 2 cards for 3. And we saw that on, what was it? The 4-drop in Kaldheim. I think this is a 3.5, maybe a 4. It triggers Magecraft. Could be instant, but it's not. Scry 1, draw a card, I think is really important. Scrying beforehand and drawing. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 for now. It's not game breaking, but it's pretty dang good. Next we have Mercurial Transformation. 2 mana, 1 generic, and a blue. Lesson, sorcery. So far all the lessons are looking like sorceries. Which I guess is good, because, yeah. Yeah, I guess it's good. You don't want to learn, then get it, and then do it at instant speed. Okay. Until end of turn, target non-land permanent loses all abilities and becomes your choice of a blue frog creature with base power and toughness 1/1, or a blue octopus creature with base power and toughness 4/4. Interesting. I mean, and it does it to non-land permanent. So say they have a walker, right? A planeswalker. You can turn the walker into a creature, kill it. Wish this was instant. I really do. And I think this card is decent, honestly. Gives you a chance to swing into something, perhaps, by turning their creature into a 1/1 or turning yours into a 4/4. Maybe like blue-green aggro or blue-red aggro. I'm going to give it a 3 for now. I don't really know where to place it, but I think it can be played. I think it's totally playable. Next we have multiple choice. 1 blue, X, sorcery. If X is 1, scry 1, draw a card. Okay. If X is 2, you may choose a player. They return a creature they control to its owner's hand. Okay. If X is 3, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. What? And then if X is 4 or more, do all of the above. This is a 5. Like, what? Yes. All day long. At any stage you can play this. And if you do 4, you get all of the above. Yes. Multiple choice is a slam dunk rare. Slam dunk rare. Not much to even say about it. It's great. Next we have Pop Quiz. 3 mana, 2 generic and a blue. Instant, draw a card. Learn. Okay. I think this is 3.5. Instant speed, draw a card is great. It'll trigger Magecraft at instant speed. And it gets to learn. And depending on how you set up your sideboard, you could go tutor you up something really great. I think it's a little above average. Because, I mean, essentially, it's like an instant speed divination. Next, we have Reject. 2 mana, 1 generic, 1 blue. Instant. Counter target creature or planeswalker spell unless its controller plays 3. If that spell is countered this way, exile instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Okay. So this can be played from turn 2 probably to turn 5. I'm going to give this a 3.5. I don't typically like counters, but I think this could be played for a lot of value throughout the game. And yeah. Blue doesn't have a lot of removal either, so I think Reject would be really good. Resculpt. 2 mana, 1 generic and a blue. Instant. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 4/4 blue and a red elemental token. No. No, don't play this. Do not play Resculpt. It's a 1. It's not playable. Maybe you want to do it to your own creature, but why? Why would you want to lose value on your own thing? Like, oh, maybe they'll enchant it and make you lose value. No, I don't think Resculpt gets played at all. I could be wrong. You know, you're going to remove their creature and they're like, Resculpt. Give myself a 4/4. I'll give it a 2, right above, playable if you're using it in that sense. But if you're using it to really try to take away one of their threats, no. So if you're using it to as a defensive tool, like okay, they're removing my thing, I'm getting the 4/4, cool. But if you're like, oh, they have a powerful thing, I'm gonna use resculpt to save myself. No, don't do that. Next we have Serpentine Curve. 4 drop, 3 generic and a blue. Sorcery. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X 1/1 counters on it where X is 1 plus the total number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. No, this is definitely a 1. This isn't good. This is literally 0 value. First off, you gotta have the instants and sorceries in your yard or in exile. Next, this is 4 mana. The creature token doesn't have trample. It doesn't have flying. Don't play Serpentine Curve. It's definitely a 1. Next we have Snow Day. It is a 6 mana, 4 generic, 2 blue instant. Tap up to 2 target creatures. We saw that ability in white for 2 mana, mind you. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. That makes a difference. Draw 2 cards, discard a card. The mana cost keeps this from being, in my opinion, a 4. I'm going to give it a 3.5. It's above average now. It's nice. And it could be a 4 depending on how slow the format is. If the format turns, but we saw with the white cards. White's coming in with that heat. White's coming in with that heat, so I don't know if Snow Day is going to be able to play up to 3.5 value. And I know it can't play up to 4 because I think the format's going to be a little bit aggressive for that. But I'm still going to give it 3.5. I think it's better than average, but I don't know if the format's going to allow it to be. Next, we have Solve the Equation. 3 mana, 2 generic and a blue. Sorcery. Search the library for an instant or sorcery card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. A tutor card for instant or sorcery. I mean, I guess if you have a big bomb you're looking for, but maybe I'm going to give it a 2. Some people might play it, making it a playable card, and it's getting you something, but it's not great. I might want to just put it at like 1.5. Like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1.5. Slightly, I mean, just slightly above playable. Because you could just play one of those, draw 2 cards or something, you know, to get through your deck. Next, we have Soothsayer Adept. 2 mana, 1 generic, 1 blue, Merfolk Wizard. You can pay 1 generic, 1 blue, and tap, draw a card, discard a card. It's a 1/3. Okay, playable, definite. Average. 2 drop, 1/3. That's average. Its ability, average. It's a 3. The ability's cool and whatnot, but it's not game breaking. And it's not just like this would be a 3.5 in my opinion if it was just pay 2, draw a card. Which I know sounds crazy, right? It would be above that, but draw a card, discard a card, and tap it. Maybe this is a 3.5. Maybe this is above average. Yeah, we'll give Soothsayer Adept a 3.5. I do think it's a little above average. Next, we have Symmetry Sage. 1 blue, flying, human wizard. So they didn't give white a 1-drop flyer, but they gave blue a 1-drop flyer. With Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, Target creature you control has base power 2 until end of turn. So the highest this can go up to is 2. No. 1 drop 2/2 flyer. One drop 0/2 flyer with Magecraft that pumps it to 2. Only 2. So you can't trigger it multiple times. This is below average to me. I'm gonna give it a 2. I think it's, yeah. I don't want to be disrespectful to the uncommon status, but it's not something I'm gonna go after at all, even though it's flying. I'm gonna just give it a 2 for now. It could be a 1.5 or 1. Next we have Teachings of the Archaics. Three drop lesson. If an opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw 2 cards. Draw 3 cards instead if an opponent has at least 4 or more cards in hand than you. Oh! Okay. And it's a lesson? This is great. This is slam dunk again. If an opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw 2 cards. Draw 3 cards instead if an opponent has at least 4 or more cards in hand than you. So this does nothing if they don't have more cards in hand? I'm going to give this a 4 for being a lesson, being tutorable, and having value. But I don't know. That could be wrong. But I do think the card has a lot of potential. Tempted by the Auric. 4 mana, 1 generic, 3 blue. For each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls with mana value 3 or less. I'll give this a 4. I'm not even sure if this set has 3-drop planeswalkers. If this set has 3-drop planeswalkers, this is definitely a 4. And it really kind of depends on like the value of 3-drop creatures across the board. Like if there's any that give you like recurable power over time. But I know this is above average as a card. Taking something from the opponent is kind of brutal. It's different from like destroying something where no one's getting value out of it anymore. But when you take something and you're gaining value out of it now and they're not, it's kind of potent. So I'm going to give this a 4 off the top. And we'll really have to see the rest of the set to kind of know how to play out in Limited. Next we have Test of Talents. A 2-drop, 1 generic, 1 blue. Instant. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that spell and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. There's a lot going on here. Like, even like for standard, for instance, they're playing their Shatter the Sky. I'm gonna counter your Shatter the Sky. I'm going your deck, and I'm gonna take out all of them. I'm gonna counter your Extinction Event. I'm gonna counter your Doom Scar, and I'm gonna go get all of them. And like I think this has more value in standard than Limited. In Limited, they're not gonna have a bunch of the same copies. Maybe that white card, the 3-drop, that exiles. Maybe. I think, yeah, this can be played in Limited. I think this is definitely like a 3.5, maybe a 4, especially the first copy. It's definitely a 3.5 or a 4. This is gonna have a lot of value. This set, there's a lot of powerful spells lurking in this set. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5 for now, and it could prove to be a 4 in the future. Next we have Vortex Runner, a 3-drop, 2 generic and a blue human wizard. As long as you control 8 or more lands, Vortex Runner gets a 1/0 and can't be blocked. 3-drop unblockable creature once you hit 8 lands. 3/3 potential. So on the front part, it's average, right? It's a 3. The hind part bumps it to 3.5. So it varies. So I want to get this to 3.25. This is kind of right there in that groove. Because late game, it'll be great, right? Late game, this can close out a game. So maybe that puts it at 3.5 because the hind part might put it at 4. So yeah, we'll make it a 3.5. I like Vortex Runner. Next we have Waterfall Aerialist, 4-drop, 3 generic, and a blue. Flying with Ward 2. Whenever this creature becomes target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2. It's a 3/1. I like this a lot. And a lot of people are saying they like the Ward ability. I like Hexproof. I'm going to say it. I like Hexproof, and I like what Hexproof does. Ward allows people to touch your creature, making it vulnerable. So it's far. But I think this is totally fine. One, toughness isn't that great. 4-drop, 3/1 flyer in blue though. We'll give it a 3.5. I think it's a little above. Is it above average? Really? I give a lot of credit to flyers. I do. And if this was a 3/2 flyer, I would probably even give it 3.5. But I think this is really just a... no, it has Ward too. We'll give it 3.5 for now. That could prove different in the future. And last in blue, we have Wormhole Serpent, a 5-drop, 4 generic, 1 blue. Serpent, 3/5. You can pay 4, 3 generic, and a blue. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Oh, okay. I like that. I like that a lot. It's 5 mana, 3/5. This can close out some games like often. I know the first copy is definitely a 4. And it could creep up to a 4.5. This card is amazing. In blue especially. I'm going to give it a 4 for now. And that could go up. So yeah, that has been the review for the blue cards. Overall, I don't find the blue cards to be as powerful as the white cards. Because what are you trying to do in Limited? You're trying to beat your opponent's face in. There was a lot of shenanigans going on in blue. A lot of draw cards. Had some decent counter spells. A couple of good flyers. No, not even. Symmetry Sage, I really just don't like. I think that's bad design. Serpentine Curve was pretty bad too. Blue kind of had some of the Dream Strix was pretty bad too. Jeez. Blue really isn't looking that great. Alright. So that's going to wrap it up for the blue section of the limited set review. And we've done white. And I think for now, that's going to wrap up the stream. These videos will be up on YouTube and Facebook. Hopefully by tomorrow. I got to do the editing for them. And make sure you follow me on those alternative platforms. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. You know the deal. And tomorrow I'll be finishing hopefully the rest of the colors: black, green, red, and by the next day potentially the gold cards and the colorless. So I'm be trying to get this out as soon as possible, and then try to come out with like an archetype guide after I have a stronger bearing of the set. So as always, my name is Clintastik. You guys are fantastic, and I'll see you guys next time.